There is a common misunderstanding many men have about attraction. They believe desire is either instant or impossible, that if a woman is not interested at first, nothing can change it. But female psychology does not work in such a rigid way. Attraction for many women is not always immediate. It is often gradual, emotional, and deeply influenced by how a man makes her feel over time. Initial lack of interest does not always mean rejection. Sometimes it simply means there was no emotional spark yet, and sparks are not always loud in the beginning. They can grow quietly through experience, energy, and perception. The first thing to understand is that desire in women is rarely triggered by pressure. When a man tries too hard to convince, impress, or chase excessively, it often creates resistance instead of attraction. Psychologically, pressure feels overwhelming. It signals emotional neediness rather than emotional strength. And emotional strength is one of the core traits that naturally builds attraction. Instead of forcing attention, attraction grows more naturally when a man maintains calm presence. When he is relaxed, grounded, and emotionally stable, it changes how he is perceived. A woman who was initially neutral may begin to notice him differently, not because he demanded attention, but because his energy feels secure and composed. Another key psychological factor is emotional experience. Women are highly responsive to how interactions feel, not just what is said. If early conversations feel flat, predictable, or overly polite, attraction often remains low. But when interactions feel engaging, slightly playful, and emotionally alive, curiosity begins to replace indifference. Curiosity is important because it opens the door to desire. When a woman becomes curious about a man, she starts observing him more closely. She notices his tone, his reactions, his confidence, and his emotional consistency. Over time, this subtle observation can shift her perception from neutral to interested. Confidence plays a powerful role in this shift. Not loud confidence, not performative confidence, quiet confidence. The kind that does not seek approval. The kind that does not overreact to small changes in attention. When a man remains emotionally steady even if interest is low, it communicates self-worth on a psychological level. Self-worth is attractive because it signals independence, and independence reduces pressure. When a woman senses that a man is emotionally secure and not desperate for validation, she feels more comfortable engaging with him naturally. Comfort often comes before attraction in female psychology. Another important element is emotional pacing. Many men make the mistake of rushing emotional intensity. They try to create deep connection too quickly. But attraction that grows slowly tends to feel more genuine and less forced. When conversations evolve naturally, without emotional overload, a woman begins to feel safe rather than pressured. Safety, in psychological terms, is not about being passive. It is about being emotionally predictable in a positive way. Calm reactions, clear communication, respectful behavior. These traits reduce subconscious resistance and allow attraction to develop at its own pace. It is also important to understand the role of perception. Sometimes a woman is not interested simply because she has mentally categorized a man too quickly. Maybe she sees him as just friendly or just familiar. But perception can shift when behavior and presence subtly change. When a man becomes more expressive, more confident, and more engaging, he no longer fits the old mental category. This is where emotional intrigue becomes powerful. Intrigue does not mean playing games. It means not revealing everything at once, maintaining a sense of individuality, having interests, opinions, and a life outside of constant attention toward her. Psychological attraction often increases when a woman senses depth rather than predictability. Desire also grows when interactions are emotionally balanced. If a man is always available, always agreeing, and always accommodating, attraction can remain low because there is no emotional tension. But when interactions include light humor, thoughtful pauses, and natural confidence, emotional energy becomes more dynamic. This dynamic energy is often what transforms neutrality into attraction. Another subtle psychological trigger is emotional contrast. If early interactions are ordinary and later interactions feel more engaging and confident, the contrast creates a noticeable shift in perception. A woman may begin to feel that something about him has changed, even if the change is simply increased self-assurance and emotional presence. Body language also communicates more than words. Steady eye contact, relaxed posture, and composed movements signal inner confidence. Women often interpret these signals subconsciously. Even without dramatic actions, calm body language can slowly increase perceived attractiveness. It is equally important to avoid investment too early. When a man invests too much attention before attraction is established, it can create imbalance. Instead of building desire, it may create emotional distance. Balanced attention allows space for curiosity and natural emotional development. Another core aspect of female psychology is emotional memory. Women often remember how someone made them feel more than what was said. If interactions consistently feel positive, relaxed, and emotionally engaging, those memories begin to shape attraction over time. Desire, in many cases, is built through repeated positive emotional experiences rather than one dramatic moment. Patience is a psychological advantage in this process. When a man does not react negatively to low initial interest, it shows emotional maturity. This maturity itself becomes attractive because it reflects stability. Stability creates comfort, and comfort often opens the door to deeper emotional connection. It is also essential to remain authentic. Trying to act overly different just to gain attraction can feel forced and unnatural. Women are highly perceptive to emotional inconsistency. Authentic confidence, natural humor, and genuine communication create a stronger and more lasting impression than artificial behavior. Another overlooked factor is social energy. When a man is socially comfortable, respectful, and emotionally aware in different situations, it increases his perceived value. A woman who initially felt no interest may start to reassess her perception after observing his behavior over time. Desire is rarely about persuasion. It is about emotional alignment. When a woman begins to feel emotionally comfortable, intrigued, and respected in a man's presence, attraction can develop naturally without pressure. Finally, the most important psychological truth is this: you cannot force genuine desire, but you can influence the emotional environment in which desire grows. Calm confidence, emotional intelligence, patience, and authentic presence create the conditions where attraction can slowly evolve. When interest is low at the beginning, the goal is not to chase intensity. The goal is to create positive emotional experiences, maintain self-respect, and allow perception to shift naturally. Because in female psychology, desire is not always instant, but when it grows gradually, it often becomes deeper, more genuine, and far more lasting than attraction that appears quickly and fades just as fast.